Hello scrappers and planet lovers, Tin Man here with another video. So the other day, one of my colleagues asked me a couple great questions. He asked me, what was the most common small appliance that I found on garbage day? And also, what appliance I would say has the most value when scrapping? What I've decided to do for this experiment is I have just focused on copper prices due to the sudden influx in price, which has been great. As you can see behind me, the most common items I find are vacuum cleaners, microwaves, fans, TVs, and for this experiment, I have a flat screen back there, but I am actually, they do not have a lot of copper content in them. So I actually have a copper, the copper content from the old school TVs, so I've used that for this experiment. You can also see I've included a dehumidifier and an air conditioner. I've included those in here, however, I did not use those in the experiment because they have compressors in them and they are actually illegal to cut to get the copper content out of them because once you cut them, it releases the freon and the other gases that are harmful for the environment. So before you can actually cut those or take those apart, you have to have a professional come in. They do it free of charge and they will flush it. So I did include those because they do have a lot of copper, but they are not a safe or quick thing to be able to take apart for scrapping. So I'm going to start over here with the vacuum cleaner, and what I've done is I've actually already weighed the copper from each. And one thing I do want to point out is there are a lot of other goodies as well. So you definitely do not just want to go for the copper, but vacuum cleaners, all of these things, the first rule I would say to you is before you scrap it, look to see if it works. I've probably found about 100 vacuum cleaners over my 3 years of scrapping. Probably 10% of them actually work, and I've been able to clean them out and donate them. Microwaves, I've probably found about 70 of them, and probably about 15 of those have worked. Fans, I find a lot of fans that actually do work. And again, those I've been able to resell those, so definitely a better price selling them whole than taking them apart. As well, dehumidifiers over here in the back, I have found probably about 60 of those and probably 40 of them have actually worked. So I've been able to donate a lot of those to the Goodwill or given to friends or sell at a yard sale. So that is my first rule. Make sure you check before you take it apart. So in a vacuum cleaner, a lot of times people will just drive by and take the nice long cord, which is a great thing, but there is also a copper motor inside. And what I've done is I actually, because I scrap a lot, I am just showing you what it looks like. This is the motor that would be inside the vacuum cleaner. I have already taken the copper out of the motor. So the number 2 copper right here, this would be classified as number 2 because it is very thin. Number 2 copper right now in Canada is going for $3.50 a pound. This right here is not a pound, it is 2.4 ounces. So I just add this up into a bag and it quickly adds up. But so almost 3 ounces here. I have 2 motors. This motor comes from this inside as well, but because the copper is so tightly wound inside of here, I actually can't, or I don't try to get it out of there. So I just bring this in as a copper bearing motor. There is a separate category at the scrapyard as is, and it's about 15 cents a pound. There is also another copper bearing motor. This copper bearing motor comes out of the power head that usually comes with it, or the end attachment. So both of these combined were 1.2 pounds of copper bearing motor, so 15 cents a pound, which is nice. There is also some brass on here that I want to get off eventually. The brass right now in Canada is about $1.85 a pound. There's definitely not a pound, but I separate it, and over time I'm going to get more money for the brass. It also comes with a really nice cord. A lot of people, as I said, will drive by and take this. Because there is 2 layers on this, one thing I've mentioned in a couple videos is scrapyards, when they look at wire, they look at copper to plastic ratio and copper recovery. Because this has an outer wire as well as inside there are 2 copper wires that have additional coating on it, this would be classified as 40% copper recovery. So currently in Canada, this would go for $1.20 a pound. And this is 13 ounces of wire, so almost a pound worth, which is great. So nice score here. Moving over to the microwave, there are a lot of places in a microwave where you can get copper. There is some low-grade wire near the circuit board. There is a transformer that has copper. There is a magnetron that has copper. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly show the transformer. And the transformer, before you take this apart, there is a price for transformers at a scrapyard. They're about 15 cents a pound as well. But what I've noticed is a lot of the modern vacuums and appliances, they have started to replace the copper spools with aluminum. So before you take this apart, you do want to scratch the wires, okay? And this is another example. I already scrapped the actual one that came from this. And I'm just gonna pull it up to the camera. I scratched, and that is the metallic look. So this is actually aluminum. However, this one, when I scratched it, you can see right on the tip, where is it? I scratched right there. This is copper. So sometimes you will get aluminum copper. Sometimes you'll get copper, which is excellent. Sometimes you'll get aluminum. So if both of these were actually metallic look, I would actually just bring the transformer in as is and get the 15 cents a pound, because aluminum is not going to be worth it. It's very light. But luckily this transformer did have a spool of copper. So what I did, because this is number 2 copper as well, because it's got plastic on it, it's got some glue on it, it is going to be in my number 2 pile. I also got some copper from the magnetron. The magnetron has 2 spools of copper. This would be number 2 as well. There is also inside the microwave a small fan. So the fan has this little hook on it. It will come with a spool of copper, which I've put in a bunch here. And it also has on the bottom, a lot of people overlook this one, there's a small motor on the bottom of a microwave where the plate will turn. There is a spool of copper in there as well. So what I've done is I've combined it all together. As well, there are small little pieces of copper that come off of the fan motor. If you can see inside, I've cut those off because every little bit helps. And lastly, out of that, there was also a small circuit board that had a small spool of copper, which also would be number 2. Some people would look at that and say this is bare bright, but the rule is, in order for it to classify as bare bright, the wire has to be thicker than a pencil lead. And this is not, so this will go in number 2. So all of that copper that you just saw will be combined as number 2 copper. And in total, I got almost, so 11.7 ounces. So almost 3/4 of a pound, almost a pound of number 2 copper there. I also have some lower grade wire. If I look at this, actually this would be your 60% recovery. I do have to take this little stuff off, the handles, because there is only 1 coating on there and there is more copper recovery. This would actually go for $1.60 a pound. There's only 2.5 ounces here, so that's definitely not a pound. But again, I put it in a bag and it adds up. There is also the plug wire. This, because it has the outer coating as well as the inside, it's lower grade, 40% copper recovery, and this weighed 6 ounces. Okay, so not a pound, but again, it adds up. So microwaves, definitely a lot of copper in different areas. So that's also a good score. Moving on to your fan. As I said before, fans, I find a lot of fans that work. So definitely this is something you want to check to see if it works before you scrap it. There is a nice wire that goes from the base, usually goes up the arm. There is a copper bearing motor inside, so I've already taken the copper bearing motor off. This is another another fan, so the motor would fit in here. There is the spool of copper. Again, this would be your number 2 because it is thin. There is some plastic on it. And this fan has 5 ounces of number 2 copper. It also came with, as I said, the plug, the cord. This cord, there's 3 ounces of wire. And if I look at the end, where's my cutoff end? This is 1 layer, so this would be your 60% copper recovery. So again, going for $1.60 a pound. So one thing I do want to make sure, I have done a video on separating copper wire. So if you're interested in that, go check that out. But one thing I do want to show you or tell you in this video as well, when I talk about 40% recovery and 60% recovery, make sure you separate those. If you were to throw all your wire into one bag, the scrapyards do not have time to go through it and sort it, so they will give you the lower price. So again, how it's usually worked is if there's 2 layers of plastic, that's going to be more of your 40% recovery. And as you can see on this one, if I bring that up to the camera, it's only 1 layer with the copper inside. So this is going to be your 60% recovery copper, so a higher value here. And as I said, only 3 ounces. Okay. The TV, I actually do not have one of the old school's TV here. I actually just brought it in a couple weeks ago. So I just show the flat screen. I have really started to see a lot more TVs, more of the flat screen ones, so I don't know if things just aren't made the way they used to be anymore. But I did want to show a flat screen. There is a difference between the copper content and the circuit boards inside. These are from the newer models. As you can see, there is a nice thing of gold down the side here. But because this experiment is not about gold recovery, it's about copper recovery, there is not much in here. But as I said, I did want to show the contents in the older types, the big tube boxes. And what they usually come with is a really nice copper bell, if you will. As well, around the tube, there is also a nice copper wire. And what I've done is, so I've already taken the bell apart, very easy to smash it with a hammer. Inside there's a nice spool of number 2, and there is also a nice spool around a magnetic type of substance. It's like a hard, and it's very easy to take apart. It smashes in your hands, but it is magnetic, so I throw it in my steel pile. So here is the number 2 copper that comes from it. Again, because this is thin, it will be a number 2 pile. So combined here, I have 8 ounces of number 2 copper. I have this, as I said, goes around your tube. And the first thing when you take this off, you do want to cut it open. As you can see inside, this one does have the copper look. So this is actually copper. And I also have a wire stripper. So I am going to take the time and run this through the wire stripper, and I will get number 2 price for this. If you don't, you could bring this in as is, and this would definitely be your 60% recovery. Some of them, however, you do want to cut it, and the reason is, as you can see inside of this one, I'm going to bring this one up to the camera. Inside you can see the metallic look. So this is actually aluminum spool. Even though on the outside of it, if you were actually to take a knife and peel it, it looks like copper from the outside, but you do want to do the scratch test. So if it is magnetic inside, or not magnetic, metallic, it is aluminum. If it is the copper look inside, definitely copper. So I actually weighed these separate, even though this will eventually go into my number 2. And this was almost an ounce and a half. Okay, so add that up with my number 2, I'm getting closer to that pound, so closer to that $3.50 Canadian. And then my last thing is the wire that gets plugged into the wall. This is 2 ounces of low grade, 40% recovery with the outer coating. Okay, so another good score, the old school TVs. Okay, the newer ones, as I said, get that gold. As I said as well, I did not put dehumidifiers and air conditioners into my experiment, but I did take the back off, and the nice thing about these, I would definitely say these have your best amount of copper. I don't find them as often. I love dehumidifiers, as I said, because a lot of them still work. People usually buy them for new homes, they'll use them for 1.5 years, and then they will just put them at the side of the road. So I have made a lot of money just on these from selling them, and also, as I said, donating them to Goodwill and other places so they at least get diverted from the landfill. But just for the sake of this video, I'm just going to turn it around and show you. So as you can see, 2 nice copper radiated fans. There is a compressor in here that has a nice copper motor inside. I do have a video on taking apart compressors, so if you're interested in that, go check that out. But really some nice stuff. The coil goes, the copper pipe goes all the way up. Currently in Canada, your aluminum copper radiators are, I think, 85 cents a pound. But very simple, you do want to cut these coils, these number 1 coils off, and get $3.90 for the clean. If they have soldering on them, they will go into your number 2. So you definitely want to take those off first, because you're going to make way more money. And similar with an air conditioner, you have the same type of items. You have those aluminum copper grills, you have a compressor, and you have some really nice copper spools. But I don't find them as often. So hopefully that answered your question. The top small appliances I find: vacuum cleaners, microwaves, fans, and TVs. There is a lot of copper inside of them if you start adding it up. And there is also a lot of other goodies. And most importantly, I have been able to save a lot of these appliances and electronics away from the landfill. Hope that answered the question. Hopefully now when you see these things, you don't just take the cord from the vacuum, you'll see the motor. Hopefully that answers, where you can find that copper. Keep on scrapping. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please comment down below, like, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Tin Man out.